We had one of the healthiest winters we had ever had as a family. Like, no one was sick. It was a miracle. Up until the very, very end of April, we all developed this like chest cold with coughs and just feeling yucky, including Poppy. I think it was Tuesday evening, she started to get a little low grade fever. And so I was giving her ibuprofen, some Tylenol, just to make her comfortable like through the night. She slept through the night. The next morning, our kids went to school. And this was, I want to say it was around like 9 a.m. I'm doing all of Poppy's like the medicines, the medical stuff, the feeding tube. And I attached her feeding tube to kind of burp the stomach. If you're a medical parent, you might understand, but this big tube. And immediately it filled up. I don't want to be too graphic, but it filled up with like chunks of dried blood. That had never happened before. I was very concerned because, again, she had had a slight fever the night before. She wasn't feeling great. Just, she was sounding congested, but she couldn't cough because she didn't have that lung power or that muscle strength to cough. So I called our pediatrician and they said, let's be safe. Why don't you guys go to the pediatric ER, which is in the next town over. They have the most amazing ER that's just for children. I was in such a state of panic because, again, I felt like Poppy was having some breathing issues. And so called my husband. He was able to leave work and we went to the hospital together. So this was Wednesday morning. There was no one in the waiting room. They immediately took her vitals, like her oxygen, did everything, and her oxygen was low. Again, here's some medical information. I think it was at like an 86. They don't ever want it to be below 90. I mean, ideally you want it to be like 99, 100, but she was at 86 and that was too low. So they took us back immediately, put some oxygen like with a tube kind of in her face just to give her some relief. And they did a chest x-ray and it showed that she had some spots of pneumonia on her lungs. Which again, how could it not? Like we all had this chest cold. It was so gunky and gross and she had no way of getting it out. So anyway, she had some spots of pneumonia and they decided, we're going to do some really strong antibiotics and we're going to help her out. And they just kind of monitored her for about an hour. And my husband and I were just kind of talking through like, if she needs oxygen, are we going to be able to get oxygen at our house? So I think we were talking with the doctors, like we would love to get like an oxygen tank to take home with Poppy so that as she's healing from this pneumonia, we can have that oxygen on her. But after talking with the doctors and we, had to educate them about Poppy and her condition and explain everything, they decided, let's just keep her for one night. We just really want to monitor her. And my husband and I decided, we do think that's a good plan. We also had an appointment, I believe, scheduled the following week for a 24-hour stay in the hospital for her to get an EEG done on brain activity to see if she was having seizures. And so we thought, let's just do it now. We'll stay in the hospital tonight. We'll get the testing done. She'll have her oxygen. We'll monitor her. She can get her antibiotics. And then we'll go home the next day. And so we were okay with that. We arranged for, our two older kids, Rosie and Peter, to be picked up from school, to stay with grandparents. So we went upstairs and we ended up staying for 5 nights at the hospital with Poppy. I have a really hard time looking back at that hospital stay because I feel like I was so stupid to not be able to see that it was like near the end. Whereas my husband, I think he looks back at those 5 days a bit more fondly because he just got 5 solid days with her, holding her in just uninterrupted time. But all that to say, like, we never left her side, we slept in the room. One of us was on the couch and one of us was in the bed with Poppy. Because again, we requested to have a adult-sized bed for her so we could lay with her the whole time. But anyways, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that whole hospital stay, but there were 2 times where she almost coded, like her oxygen just dropped and they had to crank up the oxygen. Some people ran in, very, very scary. And so they sat us down and they talked to us about a DNR, a do not resuscitate. They said, we need to make some hard decisions. And my husband and I made the decision that we would want Poppy to be resuscitated if necessary. Again, we didn't think that would actually happen, because we thought she's only sick right now because of the pneumonia. Like, she'll be fine. Like, she'll be fine. We're taking her home. We're getting oxygen at our house. So if for some reason something happened, like, we would, this is just temporary. We're taking her home. So we made that decision with the nursing staff, and the doctors, and literally not thinking that would ever happen. Again, I think I was just like naive. So, after that 5th night, we were woken up at like 6 in the morning by our nurse and the hospital staff, and they said, hey, like, Poppy's having a really hard time with her oxygen. And I was like right next to her. I was like sleeping with her, but they said, we need to take her to the ICU, the pediatric ICU. And we said, right now? And they said, yeah. And so my husband got up. We were like grabbing all of our stuff, putting it on the bed with Poppy. They had like a portable oxygen thing to wheel her down in the bed. They pushed her into this this whole new room. It had this gorgeous view overlooking the whole city, and the sun was coming up. And anyways, we wheeled her in. We literally got her in the room. They had a couple people to kind of like greet her, a respiratory therapist and the head nurse. And there's probably already like 5 medical professionals in the room as we wheeled her in. And I'll never forget, she like, so Poppy's in her bed, and I'm just like talking to her like, Poppy, look at your new room. Like, I was saying stuff like that, and she opened her eyes and she looked up at me, and I was like, Poppy, like, I was so excited that her like eyes were open. And then all of a sudden it just flatlined. Like, her heart just stopped. So the head nurse started yelling for a code, immediately grabbed Poppy and started doing CPR. The room immediately filled with like 20 people, and I was like right by Poppy's head, like yelling at her and like, Poppy, like. At one point, my husband grabbed me and put me behind his back. So I was like leaning on my husband, and he was watching. And I kid you not, it's like a scene from a movie. Like, the whole room slowed down and went blurry and was like circulating. Like, I don't know how people who make movies get that so accurate. Like, everything slowed down. And the image of seeing someone do CPR on your child, it took a long time for them to get her heart back going, but they did. We were like eventually kind of taken out of the room. And it took a while. But they got her heart going. And when they let us know, they like immediately needed decisions to be made. They had intubed her, but they needed to put in like a central line. They needed to do, in order to save her, they needed to like do all of these things. And my husband and I both knew that like she wasn't gonna make it. It was just this like feeling that we had. We both knew. And we didn't want Poppy like poked or jabbed her. Like, we wanted like peace for her. Sorry, you guys. I was like, oh, I'm just crying way too much. Okay, we knew. We had already made the decision that we didn't want her to live a life intubed. we didn't want to keep stringing her alive for our own comfort. And so losing that oxygen to her brain for that extended period of time while they were resuscitating her wasn't good. Wasn't good. So we knew she wouldn't make it, and we made the decision to just have to say our goodbyes. Oh, you guys. Anyways, I need to keep this short because I just can't keep talking about it, but we had both of our parents come to the room. We had Rosie and Peter come to the room. We spent like the whole day with her, talking to her, holding her, and then, yeah, we made the decision to let her go. And I've said this before, but I feel like in that moment, we transferred the pain from her to us. We knew that she was like pain-free and that she was in heaven. It's hard because now it's like, you know, it's just the worst thing ever, not having her here. And then you have to leave them at the hospital. Oh, I just feel so sick right now, even thinking about that. No, like all of this sits in my brain every second of every day. And sometimes I let myself sit in those thoughts, and other times I can't. I really try to train my brain to just think of like the good that we had with Poppy. And yeah, it's just grief. It's like retraining my brain to not sit in those dark times, but to remember the life that she had. And Poppy's so good. She sends me so many signs. She's like the best daughter in the whole world, you guys. She sends me so many signs to like help me get through my days when I need that, because I need it a lot.